And guess what? The contract is deactivated and it's just a big blank. Sent me. They are lying to you. I'm gonna give you 5 huge red flags to look for when you are booking a move with movers, especially if it's across the country.
We could be everything, anything that we see we could be. We could be everything that we want.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Jillian here. I was talking to my cousin and we were talking about the horror of my moving experience. You guys saw in the vlog how I had a situation with my movers where I ended up having to cancel them 2 days before like the big move, and it was so stressful. I wanted to cry. And she was like, you know what, that information that you learned would actually be very beneficial for people to know, so like you should definitely talk about it. And I sat and thought about it for a while because I just feel like, I don't know, maybe I was just dumb, you know, like I didn't do my due diligence. But then I thought to myself, I said, self, don't you wish that somebody who you consistently watch could tell you if you were making a mistake? And I'm like, yeah, actually I do. So I decided that I would actually talk about some of the mistakes that I made when booking my movers. I only have 5 things. Like I feel like these are the 5 that are probably the most important. And again, for me, it kind of feels like a no-brainer and I was just being dumb. But just in case that's not the case and this is not commonly known knowledge, I'm gonna give you 5 huge red flags to look for when you are booking a move with movers, especially if it's across the country. The first thing, I don't know, maybe most people know this, but I did not. Do not go onto Google, type in movers, relocation, and whatever else you type in, and then go to a website to fill out the information to get a free quote. Okay, this is like blood in the water to moving sharks because it's a database. You're a lead, so you're gonna start getting calls back to back to back to back of moving companies trying to give you a quote. And here's the kicker, some of them are the same people with different names. Like I didn't know that, but then when I started looking at the forms that they would send, like the quotes, it really just started to register. Now that's further, you know, on in the lessons we're going to talk about that like little quote because that's important. Bookmark that for later. But just go to a actual moving company's website, call them up and ask them for a quote. Like let them know what it is you're looking for, let them know what it is you're trying to accomplish, and just get a quote from moving companies directly. Do not go into the database. That is hell. And put in your information with your phone number so that people can start calling you back to back to back to back to try to give you moving quotes that are going to actually be just a downright lie. I'm actually going to be making myself some breakfast while we talk about this. I'm going to be doing the Kodak protein oats. I'm going to add some raspberries, honey, brown sugar as well. I know honey and brown sugar together seems kind of redundant, but you know, that's what we're going to do. And then cranberry English muffins. Okay, if they say they go by cubic feet instead of weight, they are lying to you. Okay, now here's what happened to me. I'm gonna move this down a little bit. All right, yes, a little bit better. Okay, so what happened to me was, first of all, I went into the little database, put in all of my information. And then what proceeded to happen after that is I just started to get bombarded with phone calls, and they all had a common theme of, oh, we go by cubic feet, not weight. Only the companies that I called directly actually admitted to no, they do it by weight. And yeah, they need the cubic feet for the space that is probably gonna take up, but that's not how they charge you. These companies were coming to me saying that they go by cubic feet because they feel like weight doesn't really matter. Big red flag. Weight matters because when these trucks are going across borders from state to state to state, they get weighed. And there's certain times where they'll even get stopped because they need to make sure they're not transporting things that they shouldn't be transporting, you know? So that was one of the things that I just did not understand. And again, maybe that's common knowledge. for some of you moving experts out there. But for me, I was just like, I've never really had to move anywhere that was more than just locally. We call up the homies and say, hey, can you help us move? We'll rent a truck. And that's the extent of it. I've never actually no, that's a lie. I have officially hired movers before, but again, it's different than moving to a different state, because even locally you have that truck, that moving truck, and you're paying for the moving truck and the movers per hour. It has nothing to do with weight. You just hope all your stuff fits in the moving truck, and if it doesn't, the rest is up to you. So when I got this quote, they weren't really that concerned with trying to see what I was trying to move. They just kind of asked me like, what do you have? I gave them a list of the items, and they kind of said, okay, well, you know, a couple days before your move, we're gonna call and do an audit, and we'll kind of go over your count and your boxes and everything, and then we'll see, like, you know, if you've added anything onto that. I was thinking, okay, that seems fine. Like, it shouldn't be too bad if I need to like add a couple boxes. Like, you know, it can't be that much more money. No. So we walked through, I gave them the amount. I even added, like, I doubled all of my box counts because we weren't really taking a lot of furniture. And I just told them, okay, this is how many boxes. Let's double the amount for every category. And if there's extras, I'll let you know. That was that. This brings me to red flag number 3. So initially there was a company who I had decided, okay, I got a quote from them, and I kind of felt like it was a bit high. Again, I wasn't really sure what a move like this should cost, so I was just like, seems a little high, I'm gonna get other quotes, right? So I did get some other quotes and kind of thought, you know what, I might go with this other company. But then at the last minute, this company calls me back and says, hey, we just had a last minute opening and we can squeeze your stuff in, and the rate dropped by half. We went from $7,000 almost dollars to $3,600. I was like, bet, that's great. Don't mind if I do. Send the stuff right over and we will finalize it, because I just felt like that was a great deal. Now, here's just a side note. If it seems too good to be true and the price seems like it's way cheaper than it should be, it probably is, okay? It probably is, friend, and nobody's gonna tell you. Let me be the one to tell you. If it seems too good to be true, friend, it probably is. And so when I heard that rate, I was like, oh great, sign me up. Now here is where red flag number 4 comes into play. If they request a deposit, you know, I felt like, because moves can be so expensive and there's a lot of work involved, this didn't really seem like such an out-of-pocket request. I just thought, I mean, surely they want a deposit if they're gonna do all of this work. I mean, that doesn't seem so out of the norm, but apparently it is. Also, currently my deposit was $1,400, which I'm currently still trying to get back. So they made me pay everything by an ACH check. It was $1,400 to secure the date and lock it in. And they told me that I would just pay the rest upon delivery of my items. Again, it didn't seem so out of the norm. It was a large job. I had never done it before. I didn't understand, but apparently they are not supposed to ask you for a deposit. Now, side note, let me just say, when they send you that contract for a quote, I need you to look that thing over with a fine-tooth comb. I thought I did. I'm really good with contracts typically. But one small detail that I missed was in the contract where the girl said, oh, we have this special rate, somebody canceled, do you want it? And I said, yeah. I didn't notice that she had lowered the amount of cubic feet that my stuff was going to take up. Meaning, we had a conversation after giving her the list of everything. We had together on the phone predetermined this is how many cubic feet we would need, but on the quote, it was less. So when the day comes where I need to do the audit to see if there's anything extra that we need to add on, this is where we start to run into problems. Now, if they don't ask you extra questions about the stuff that you have, this is a big red flag, because when I ended up having to hire another moving company, there were so many additional questions and things that they did that this company did not do. And, you know, although I lost $1,400 in the whole entire situation, maybe we're still trying to debate and fight if I can get it back, but I did learned that I probably in the long run, by canceling and switching companies, saved myself so much more. Because when it came time to do the audit for my stuff, we get on the phone, again, just a phone call. I go through, I count all of the boxes. I go into the garage, I recount, all of that, right? I only added maybe, according to him, about 150 cubic feet to what we initially had discussed. And my price jumped from $3,500 to $7,000 2 days before the move. And again, he had never done any type of visual to see what I had, never asked for measurements for anything, never asked details about if anything needed to be crated, if anything needed to be handled with extra care, if there was anything fragile, if I needed to do TV box. Like, never asked any of these questions, right? This is how I kind of knew that if I had gone with that company, it would have been moving day, where they would have been charging me extra and then holding my stuff hostage unless I paid them. So once he did that little quote of, oh, now your rate is double, I completely was sent over the edge, completely sent. And I was asking, like, how is that even possible that the amount of stuff I'm telling you did not double, but the price did? This man then proceeds to give me an attitude and say, well, he's not in control of the prices, and that I would have to call the 800 number back in order to speak with someone who was. So that's exactly what I did. I hung up on him because I was so mad, because I first of all did not like the way that he was talking to me, but also it was like there was no empathy or good customer service behind how appalling this price jump was. So I call the 800 number. I get this woman on the phone who does not speak the best English, but she can still understand fully what I'm saying. And we start discussing the pricing, and she says there's nothing she could do. I asked to speak to a supervisor. She tells me there's no supervisor that I could speak to. I said there's no manager or anybody I could speak to. She said no. I said I need to speak with somebody to discuss this price because I'm not okay with this, and I've already paid a deposit, yada, yada, yada. The woman then tells me it's not happening. Her exact words, it's not happening. I'm not transferring you to a supervisor. It is what it is. And then she hangs up on me. I then call back twice. They don't answer. And then I go and I text the original girl, the one who called me back with the rate change. I sent her a message letting her know that I was not okay with the situation and everything that was going on. And she basically said, well, that's not really my problem. I only do this. You're gonna have to call this guy because he's the one who controls the rates. Guess who the guy was? The guy who was on the phone who was telling me that he has no control over the prices and there's nothing he could do about it, and I would have to call the 800 number back. So I call that guy back. I say, hey, I just talked to the girl who booked this and she said you're the one in control of the prices. And he said, well, yeah, I am. I said, well, you told me you weren't. He said, well, if you would have listened to me, then I could have probably helped you out, but I don't like your attitude, so I'm not doing anything for you. Sent me. If he was in front of my face, we would have been fighting. We would have been fighting because I could not believe it. And so I was infuriated. Of course, I told them cancel the whole entire thing and that I would be filing a claim with my bank. I get off of the phone with this man. I go to look at the contract because I'm gonna use this as information to file my claim with the bank. And guess what? The whole entire contract has been altered. So luckily I had a screenshot and a copy of the original quote. But then I took a screenshot of this altered version because I wanted to compare the two to see what differences they were trying to include in it to try to justify what they were doing. So I call my bank, I start going through the claim process, and then when I go back to the contract because I'm about to send it over, the contract is deactivated and it's just a big blank. And it's basically asking me to put in all of my information again to get a quote. So they not only changed the quote, but then once they figured out what I was gonna do, they deactivated it so that I wouldn't be able to prove what I was saying. Luckily, I'm always about receipts. I take screenshots of everything. So I had screenshots and I was able to submit those all to my bank. Now we're still in a claim situation right now where we're trying to figure out if I'm gonna be able to get my money back, which filming this, I'm gonna be calling, checking, like, can I get my money back? But let me just say, those 5 things are things that I wish I would have known before booking my movers because it would have saved me so much. Now apparently I ended up paying around $7,000 for my move. Now that's very normal from what I hear for what it is that we needed to move. However, here's the thing. They crated all of my art and my antique mirrors and things like that. They were in these big wooden crates that needed a crowbar to be open so that they would be safe in transport. They were very diligent about the things that I had that were antiques and valuables and very fragile. So they were very careful about how they packaged it and put it on the truck. And they had this insurance, which I ended up getting just in case anything was damaged. And he was like, I just really want to put insurance on this because I wouldn't feel right if something didn't, you know, you have a lot of really nice things. The other thing that they did, green flag, is they had a FaceTime call with me so that I could literally physically show them everything that I had so that they weren't walking into any surprises. So the quote was very accurate. They even offered to throw in extra boxes to like do my TVs, TV boxes. They had some used ones because they already understood the move was very last minute and expensive. So they gave me moving boxes for my TVs and just everything. They were amazing. They were actually amazing. And then when they came, they brought all this stuff into my house and put it in all the rooms that I wanted everything to go in. They put together everything that needed to be put together, which was just a bed and some patio furniture. But other than that, like, I would highly recommend that moving company. I'll put them on the screen and I'll put their information in the description box, although they're very much local to the LA area. But when I tell you this was such a big learning experience for me, if they don't ask to see your stuff and they're trying to give you a quote, they're lying. They're gonna up that at the very last minute. If they're telling you they don't go by weight, it's a lie. They do go by weight because everything has to be weighed. When this moving company got here, because they used a different like company to transport across state lines, that man came and showed me the ticket and the whole entire form of them weighing the stuff. Now here's the other thing you want to look for. My company that I ended up going with gave me a locked in price guarantee. They said, we think it's going to be about this weight, but even if it exceeds this weight, your price will not go up because this is our assessment of what it should weigh. So even if my stuff got to being weighed and it went over, my price was locked in. And if my stuff happened to weigh less, then I was going to get a credit or a refund for the price difference. That was like a security that I really needed. So he showed me our stuff actually weighed more than what they thought it would weigh, but I didn't have to pay more. Another thing is we did not owe them a deposit. We did not have to give them a deposit. They called me 2 to 3 days before they were due to drop off our stuff to let us know what the total was going to be, like reconfirming the total, which was what I was quoted. We paid that total and then we scheduled the drop off. It was so smooth, so easy. They were so kind. They were so mindful of taping down everything and making sure they didn't walk all over my white carpet. It was just such a good experience working with them. The company that scammed me was called Relocation Express, and that name I remember, which is so bad how we remember the negative more than we remember the positive, but it was Relocation Express, and they are scammers. Do not go with them. There was another company attached to them that I cannot think of right now that I almost went with, but when I looked at the quotes, they look the same. That's how I knew, oh, this is like the same company. They're operating under different faces. Kind of like on Uber Eats where you order from Chili's, but it's also a wings and things kind of place and it's really Chili's. Yeah, it was like that. So that was my experience moving. Those are my lessons. Take it from me. Do not try to figure it out on your own, okay? Please just take my advice, learn from my stupidity. It was such a nightmare. I would not wish that on my worst enemy. Now we are going to unpack my closet. Not the major part of it. I need to unpack the stuff that's been in suitcases because I can't keep digging through suitcases trying to figure out where everything is because it's all spread out among several different suitcases and it's just starting to become annoying. I'm gonna show you all the stuff that I've been living off of wearing for the last 2 months and some realizations I have come to by not having access to all of my clothes.